Okay, and now we're live. Okay, welcome everybody once again to another DNN Hangout. I'm here joined with my co-host Will Stroll. Welcome, Will. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you too. Good to be back with everybody in this fine December, I suppose. Welcome to the Hangout.
Yes, yes, welcome. And Will, I don't know if you know this or not, but Movember was over a couple of weeks ago, so it's okay to shave now.
Yeah. I forgot. I'm still trying to save money for the Dollar Shave Club.
Well, it's good to see you anyway, even with your beard. Although I have to say, our guest today does a little bit better job of pulling it off, but looking very fine there, Mr. Will.
Well, we'll
So
talk about him later.
yes,
He'll have,
yes.
he'll have his own time. We don't need to feature him yet.
So what's going on this month, Mr. Will?
Well, we skipped last month's episode. So November is the November episode with David Poindexter. That's now going to be happen in February. So we look forward to that. So he's going to be talking about some community-related stuff. So with the user group, and who knows, maybe there'll be some information around a DNN con somewhere in that area of that user group. Who knows? So there's going to be that's going to be an exciting one to for participation especially. Next month, which would be January, so the fresh new year for 2016, we're going to be talking about something that we've been talking about already for about 6 months or so, DNN 8. So we're going to have a special episode that's not scheduled yet, but we'll get that scheduled here shortly. Wait, actually, is it scheduled? I don't think it is, right?
It is not scheduled, but it's not on the calendar, so we definitely need to get that done. But we can do that week. We've got some time early in that launch week. We can do that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's going to be a pretty good one, and I don't know. I would expect if you viewers are going to come to that one, I would plan for overage time because I'm expecting extra questions and things, so that might be more than a 60-minute hangout.
There is a lot to cover. There's some new stuff that we haven't even discussed yet. Some extra how do I want to say, little bits and pieces, API developer stuff for us to talk about, some new things we were able to get in at the last moment, so to speak. So we definitely have some good stuff to go over, well beyond just MVC and SPA that we talked about before.
Awesome. So at this point, I guess we can introduce our speaker. I don't know. He's really nervous, and I think he's still trying to click the hang up button, but I think we disabled it on him. But so he's stuck now. So our speaker this month, I first met him I think in 2007 or 2008. I'm not certain about that. I should have looked that up before this, but I first met him when I was still in Orlando, leading the Orlando DNN user group, and this guy was so dedicated to DNN that he would literally drive at least an hour and a half each way, depending on traffic, just to come to this user group meeting. And at the time when he first started coming, I was just really impressed because nobody's coming that far. But then somebody else started coming like 2.5, 3 hours. So that kind of made him not the most dedicated. But he is almost certainly very close to the most dedicated. So our speaker this month, he at the time was hailing out of Tampa, doing some skinning work when I first met him, and then helping out with the user group, and he's partially responsible for the very first day of DNN, which is now DNN Con, branding and implementation. And then he spent a stint over at Arrow Consulting, and now he does some other things with a company named Bankrate. So he's a widely known Skinner, DNN author, and also a front-end developer, and his name is Ralph Williams Jr. Welcome to the show, Ralph.
Thanks. Nice to be here. And I believe it was in 2009, the DNN Day of DNN in Tampa, somewhere around there is when we first met.
So we met first at the event? I thought we met before it.
I think we met somewhere right around that. I don't remember. It seems like that's how I know that's how we first got connected. We saw that you had posted looking for some people to help with the branding and things like that, and
yeah.
we got involved, and it's been a fun time ever since. So.
Yep, indeed. So, Mr. Ralph Williams, Before we get started with this, I do want to say something that we always forget to say in the beginning of the show. So if you have any questions or comments for anybody on the show, myself, Ralph, Joe, feel free to ping us on our respective Twitter handles, or on the comments section of the video itself. So feel free to ask us there, and we'll go ahead and filter that question to the responsible person. All right. So with that being said, Ralph, so like, what got you first into DNN? Like how did you find DNN, or did DNN find you?
I don't know. I guess we sort of mutually found each other. I was trying to get into learning some more about web development, and I got set up with a friend that was able to kind of basically bring me on part-time, and he was already doing DNN for his work, and so he introduced me to DNN. And before that, I had been looking for a way to kind of do some dynamic content and things like that. And so whenever he brought me on to part-time work, then kind of got introduced to it there. So it was really cool that as a guy who didn't know anything at all about the back-end development and barely knew HTML and CSS, and pretty much no JavaScript, was able to get in there and still do a lot with it, even though like I said, didn't have a lot of background with other stuff. So that was kind of my introduction to it, and it was pretty. I felt pretty empowered as a front end guy to be able to still get in there and do a lot of things with the different modules that were there.
So what was? Oh, did you have a question, Joe?
Yeah, what does he mean, front-end guy? I thought we were talking about module development this month.
Yeah, no, I'm a front-end guy at heart. Which is the nice thing about your segue into our front-end development approaches now. So, yeah.
We weren't supposed to segue yet, Joe. Jumping the shark here.
He couldn't resist.
So that was back in, like, what year was that?
That probably was about 2007, somewhere around in there.
Maybe so as Joe would say, that you're relatively new still.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get involved until DNN 3, so yeah, it's.
Well, that's pretty long for most people, for sure. And what was it about DNN specifically? Like, was there anything like that stuck out about it more than anything else? Like maybe compared to other things you had worked on in the past, or just something that just clicked for you in general?
Well, I mean, besides the fact that the front end part of it, the HTML and CSS, was separated enough to where I could get in there and work on things without the fear of breaking stuff. It kind of kept the intimidation level down to where I felt confident to get in there and mess with stuff and know that it wasn't going to be some breaking thing that couldn't be undone. That was really helpful. But then once we started finding out about the community, I felt like I probably worked for about a year or so without even having any clue about the community that was out there. But then once I discovered the community and how helpful everybody was with that really made a huge difference to me. And being able to find plenty of sources to learn from as far as blogs and things like that. But then also the Twitter universe back there with DNN was really getting going then, and there was a lot that you just had any question, you could reach out, somebody would help you. So that really was a big selling point for me.
So there's two comments so far, and one of them I have no idea what it is. David Poindexter wants to know what the DNN weather's like. I don't know what that means. And Johnny Gregory, he wants you to know that you have a really decent beard.
Appreciate that. Been working on it for a couple of years now, so.
Yeah, you have. You got like the whole beard conditioner kit and everything. I've seen it before. It's pretty impressive. Mine's kind of just a life beard. It just happened.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like the community, one of the things I haven't mentioned yet is like I think the first time maybe according to you, I'm not certain. Like it's been a blur. It's been a long like in a good blur, knowing you and all these years. But one of the first times maybe that I met you, it wasn't just like, hey, hello, Ralph. It was, hi, Ralph. Thank you for speaking at this major conference that we put on this year. So like, what made you want to speak?
Really, the company I was at, the company I was working for was Architect Software and Web Development, and one of the things that we got involved, we were trying to grow the business, and we saw an opportunity to be able to, a small little shop, be able to, try to kind of get our name out there. But the guy who's done internet marketing told me that I should speak, and I was just, said no, I don't think so. And so basically, I told him, I said, I'll tell you what, if you speak, I'll speak as well, but that doesn't mean we're going to do 2 sessions. I'll share a session with you. And so he was very quick to accept. I was not expecting him to accept it, and he did. And so I got up there and talked a little bit. It was really an SEO friendly DNN site was the first session, and I got up and basically talked about how to make your HTML clean enough for the search engines to be able to crawl it. And then he got up and talked about the other pieces as far, all the analytics and those types of things. But yeah, it was just kind of a, I guess I'll do it if you do it type of thing. And so, and I like being, I felt like the community was helping a lot, and I liked the idea of being able to kind of get involved and help with the community as well.
I found that the speaking for me, Ralph, has sort of forces me to help learn a topic, right? And it sort of guides you. And is that sort of your experience as well? Do you like that aspect of speaking?
Absolutely, yeah. There's over the years, speaking at the different conventions and things like that, I've had to really kind of dig in and really understand the whys of how it happens. And usually, as you're working through things, you just do enough to get by to get it done. But whenever you speak, you have to have that confidence of what you're talking about. And if somebody is going to ask a question, want to try to know a little bit broader, have a little broader knowledge than just what you're speaking on, in case somebody else has a question related to it. And so I've found myself doing a lot more digging and researching, trying to make sure I'm saying it the right way. And especially as a front-end developer in a back-end developer's world, is what DNN was for such a long time. Really wanted to make sure I was, saying the right terminology and things like that. So, and then the funny thing is, whenever I went to go do the DNN 7 book, I felt I was, going right back into that again and having to even more so just dig deeper and deeper to make sure that, what I was saying was right, because that was in print, not just talking into air.
So you're being held accountable at that point.
Yes, exactly.
I thought you said this. Well, it's not a recording, so I don't know. I don't think I said that.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty good segue. So you made it into the DNN 7 book, and you did the skinning chapter or chapters? Was it one chapter?
It was one chapter. Yep.
Okay. So how was that experience for you?
Oh, it was really cool. To be able to get in there, and it's something I had really been wanting to do for a long time, and to kind of be an author for that type of thing. And I had actually forgotten about it. I'd gotten so busy with work and sort of, I guess, lost the dream, if you will. And but then, got an email and asking me to be a part of it, and thought that would be a just a really cool opportunity, kind of a once in a lifetime deal. And had to, of course, make sure it was okay with my wife, because it took up a lot of time, and I told her I was gonna be pretty non-existent there for a couple of months, and but it was really cool, and to be able to have it in your hand afterwards was the really cool part. So of course you have yours on your wall, so
yeah, it's right there.
But I hear Ralph that authors make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, those books really pay a lot. I mean, just unbelievable, the pennies that have been rolling in.
Wait, you've gotten some pennies?
Well, there are more tips. People kind of feel bad for me.
I'm missing my penny check. Kind of upset about that. Apparently David Poindexter thinks that we don't know what the word weather means, so he said it again, but used climate instead of weather. So the weather where I am, David, it's kind of chilly, and it's probably the same for Joe, and Ralph lives in Florida, so it's probably warm and maybe a little sticky.
It was actually quite warm and sticky. Yeah, it's probably around, I think it was around 82 degrees during lunchtime. So.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your relevant DNN question, David Poindexter. So from there, you've done a little bit more work. So you haven't just been a speaker at some of these events. You've done some other things. So like you were part of a company, Aero Consulting and Design, where you're part of sponsoring and so that kind of aspect of it. So you've been a vendor, and you've also done some training. So like what. Did the training aspect differ any for you between that and speaking, or maybe between that and writing a book?
I mean, I guess whenever I started working for Aero, actually having other people there besides just three, like at my last company, and started, having to kind of help out with some of the other guys here and there, and just really enjoyed the, helping part of it. And so, getting involved, like you said, as a vendor, and then even being able to speak during the training days, really were just kind of like an extension of that. They felt more of like a longer session at one of the conferences, but it was nice to be able to kind of see it through. Instead of just talking about a little part of it, you could, talk through the entire process, and at the end of the day, they were able to have a full skin, which is really hard to do. I mean, I know you did the module development courses, and trying to get a module built in a day is not the easiest thing. And same thing with the skinning, getting a complete skin done in a day is pretty challenging. So, but it was really fun, being able to get up there and kind of see everybody walk through it themselves, and figure it out like that. So that was nice.
Yeah, so for those that might venture into that area, the secret to getting something like that done in a day, it's called code snippets.
Yes. Yeah. Code snippets, and having built it out already, and basically having a roadmap for what you're gonna be doing that day. Definitely made a huge impact. And you have to realize there's gonna be certain areas you're gonna cut. But yeah, code snippets were definitely a big key part of things.
Yeah, and it's slightly off topic, but like I think the thing that helped us for the last 2 years, especially, was like we had everybody, and partially thanks to Joe for the last year, we had everybody on the same exact environment, right? So like that helped us out a lot too, because we didn't have to waste 2 to 3 hours in the morning getting people set up.
Yeah,
So, a little nostalgia. So leading from there, like you're kind of embarking on a new part of your career at this point, aren't you? You're at a new company at this point. Who are you with now?
Yep, that's right. I'm at Bankrate, and we basically just do financial advice as far as for mortgages and auto rates and things like that. They're known in the industry for being able to find loan rates and things like that. And really saw it as an opportunity. At Aero, I had been a UX designer, a graphic designer, and a front-end developer, and managing a team of front-end developers, and felt kind of, wasn't able to really focus in on one specific piece. I really enjoyed working in all the different areas, but I really wanted to try to kind of take it to the next level. And so the opportunity came up here at Bankrate to just be a front-end developer. And kind of saw it as a good chance to improve on some skills that I hadn't had an opportunity to improve on, and so kind of what I've been doing here now, and just really focusing more on all the front end. We're still a .NET shop, but they keep it pretty separate, where it's a lot of front end. We just really do. They have a little bit of PHP in there. I haven't learned any of it yet. I keep calling the guy over next to me and say, "Hey, here, write these lines of PHP for me," and then I get back to the front end stuff.
I think that's pretty smart, actually.
Yep.
Having come from a PHP background myself, today, even though I could write it, I'd probably still do the same thing that you just said.
Yeah, I'd have to wash my hands afterwards, I feel like. So.
No offense to all the PHP people out there.
I work with a bunch of them. I have a bunch of them as friends,
It could be worse. You could be stuck in Python land, which is where I seem to be lately. So.
Yeah. I could date myself a little bit more, but we're going to continue on.
Yeah, no Perl discussions on this show, Will.
No punch cards, no CL or CS. Wait, what was it? Control? Yeah, CL, RPG, none of that.
No.
All right. So with that, like that kind of brings us up to date to where we are now. So you've oh, and then for those that don't know, like if you have been to my website, like Ralph's been my unofficial official skin designer for the last what, like I guess since 2009, right?
Yep.
So like I trust them to do a lot, pretty much any work that I need front end wise. But we've been talking about skinning so far, skinning this, skinning that, design front end, and you just did something amazing that really impressed a lot of people, not just myself and Joe, but a lot of people, where you decided to say, hey, you know what? I know I'm a skin developer. Like I've been building these forever. And maybe you won't say some of the things I'm about to say, but other people say these things about you. But I'm kind of a thought leader in this area. I'm an expert in this area. Those types of things. And I'm going to go ahead and build a module. Like that's not something that a Skinner says. Like what made you want to do that?
Yeah, actually, it's something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and just not with having any C# background or anything like that, or even VB, because it was VB when I started. But not having any of the background, it always was frustrating to me. I felt like I had some ideas of how to handle things, and just never really could. And I actually used Xmod back in the day, not Xmod Pro, but the original Xmod. And that was kind of my, poor man's module developer, I felt like, and was able to get a lot done with it, but still there's just a lot of limitations that I couldn't really do everything that I wanted to. But then actually over the past year or so, I've been trying to learn some C#, and just kind of taken some online courses trying to do it, but I never really have had a chance to really commit to it and to really grasp it and understand it. But then lately I'd started getting into Knockout and AngularJS, and started seeing how powerful that they were and how much you're able to do with it with only just some JSON coming in. And so it kind of got me thinking of well, what if I could just do that with DNN's web services, to just bring in the JSON through the web services and be able to build a module that way. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I started playing around with it on my own. And then the church that I'm going to, they came to me, and they wanted to try to build a project. And we talked about it and kind of looked out at some of the third-party modules that were out there. And none of them were really quite fitting exactly what they were wanting. And what they were wanting wasn't really complicated. And so I, kind of felt like this might be a chance to, kind of jump into it. So at the end of it, I asked them if I could open source it, and they allowed me to. And so now I have my first open source module out there. And but man, it was a lot of learning. And again, got to reach back into that DNN community and get some help with some things, and be able to, there's a lot of areas that I couldn't really figure out, but was able to get help and kind of get past those pieces. But I knew the only way I'd really be able to learn it is to, like Joe said, you either teach it, and that's one way to learn it, or the other way is to just jump in, and realize that's what I had to do. Was just kind of, I felt like I knew about, I guess, 85% of it, and to get that last 15%, I just have to jump in and actually do it. So,
one of the phrases that I've heard used multiple times, Scott Hanselman and others use it, is you never really learn a language, or you never really learn a technology until you've used it in anger. Meaning, until you've actually hit that wall and had to figure out how to get around some problem in a language, that's when you really start to understand some of the intricacies of development, or how do you really use a technology, right? And those are the things that are where what really separates what I would say is a hobbyist from a pro, right? Is how much they use that in anger. So, it's great for you to be able to do that with the coding side. I think it really gives you a better appreciation.
Yep.
Of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So I know. Wait, I can't tell if I got. Okay, I am unmuted. That was weird. Hangout was like doing some sort of anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know what is going on with Google Hangouts lately, because it seems like we have been, time after time, the last couple of months, like we're really struggling with Google Hangouts.
Yeah, any browser. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter the browser or the speaker. So to that end, since we just brought that up, if anybody has any alternatives that they think that we might want to look at, that's fine. But aside from these little quirks, it works fine. But with the oh shoot, that was a bad. Oh, so one thing to note. Apparently, that was a real question about the weather. Just so everybody knows, Joe's in Ohio. We mentioned Ralph is in Florida. I'm in the San Francisco area, and David says we tip our hats to you all. So like he really appreciates our weather report, I suppose, and so did Johnny Gregory. He says he hates us guys, but he's really kidding because it's snowing where he is. So that's good stuff.
Far from snowing here.
So as far as using this stuff in anger, I would ask Ralph this, but I don't want him to relive this as much as I think he could. But I know he was using it in anger because with me being on West Coast time, him being in East Coast time, there were a couple times at least where he pinged me at like 12 a.m. my time saying, "Hey, I can't do this. What's going on? Why is this broken?" I think Ralph is well indoctrinated into the C#/module development world at this point. Wouldn't you say, Ralph?
Yes, yeah, there was a few times where you're like, "Are you still up?" And it was finally hit that wall and realized I couldn't figure it out. So had to phone a friend. So
Lifeline.
That's right.
Well, to that end, why don't we get started with your presentation and see what you've been working on?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, I mentioned the lifeline, like you just mentioned the lifeline, and that's really how I felt like I did most of this development was reaching out a lot of, to a lot of lifelines, and which I know I don't think I'd ever be able to develop anything without access to Stack Overflow or whatever, but so it was a huge learning experience. Like I said, it was something I knew I wanted to learn. The only way to do it was to jump in and do it. So basically, I'll kind of give you a brief overview of the project that I worked on, and I'll just walk through the project. But my church came to me and told me that they would like to have some videos that they could show their small group leaders to be able to kind of teach them how to handle the small groups, how to basically kind of moderate a discussion, as far as keeping a topic moving or as far as how to handle conflict and different things like that. And they kind of wanted to level set all of their leaders in that area. And so they came to me and said, you have any thoughts on what we could do? And of course, my first question was, can we use DNN on this, because that's my area, and that's where I'd really be able to help to give you the most recommendation. And that's kind of what it was going to be at first, was just recommending and putting the pieces together for them. And so they said, whatever it takes, just if you want to use DNN, that's fine. They'd actually looked at using DNN for their website a couple of years back, and ended up going with a smaller company that didn't use DNN, and I think they're starting to regret some of those choices now. But anyway, looked out there and found some pretty good third-party plugins, but they're a little bit overkill for what they were trying to do. And it was really, they had some videos that they put on Vimeo, and they just wanted to be able to, like I said, have somebody go through, watch the videos, keep track of where they were, and then whenever they got done, then the administrator would be notified that the user was done with their stuff. So that's really kind of what it, I guess the basic requirements of it. So I can show. I'll show.
Would we be able to say that this is a kind of like a entry level or maybe a very specific niche kind of LMS implementation, learning management system?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. Yeah, it doesn't have like the quizzes and parts that are associated often with the LMS, and I actually learned more about LMS than I thought I would in the process of things, because that was the the avenue I was looking down to try to accomplish this. And yeah, it's really kind of a lightweight LMS, or even a video player. And you know, if you have a playlist of videos that you want somebody to watch through in a certain progression, is really what it the simplest is what it is.
So two things to take from that. One, just to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Ralph, feel free to tweet me at @WillStroll on Twitter, or on the page where the video that you're watching. You can add some comments there, and so we'll ask them to Ralph. And you can also tweet Joe at @JBrinkman, and we'll ask the questions to Ralph. And the other thing is, we just talked about Ralph's background. He came from this whole designing, you know, skins, front-end stuff, and the very first module he decides he wants to build is an LMS. So I just want that to sink in on everybody. That's no, you know, it's not Hello World. It's not like, here's my task list. It's, okay, I'm going to build this very complicated, business-driven, you know, type of application. So, you know, that's pretty impressive, Ralph. So continue.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and really, I think what it kind of boiled down to is, you know, when I had been working at Arrow, I had been working as UX designer, and I'd been part of, you know, meetings, gathering requirements, and things like that. And so, you know, as I was doing all of this, I basically, you know, didn't get a chance to actually build wireframes for it, but I kind of just built it out through the UX process. And as I'm trying to do my, you know, development and, you know, any module development I'm doing, I'm really thinking more about the user experience of it, and kind of, you know, building more of a user-centric module. So I can I'll go ahead and show right now what the live site is, just to kind of give a brief, you know, overview of how it works and things like that, and then I'll take us to the code and start walking through some of that. So let me share my screen.
And we can see it. There we go.
All right. See if I'm still logged in here. Yep. All right. So this is the training site that we created for our church. It just has a little intro there for the courses, and then I'll just click to go to courses, and then we'll see here that the videos will start loading in.
So just to be clear, what we're looking at right now is what you built, right?
Yes, that's right. Yep, this is the final product here. And so what we have are about, I think it was 10 videos, and they're loaded into a list. You can go in there and watch them, and then also we can view the progress. So we can see who's been completing things, who hasn't started anything, and that allows the administrators to reach out and, you know, kind of nudge some people if they needed to, as far as you know, what more work how many more videos they needed to watch and things like that. And I'm going to switch over now to my local version of this, because I can, you know, kind of take you on a tour through the editing features and things like that too. So
are these videos like music?
These videos right here are. These other videos actually are. Let me take you back to this. So I'll show this video. And funny thing is that's my wife right there, and she was able to be one of the people. She was one of the people that was teaching the lessons there. So I'm sure she'd appreciate the way I paused the screen there on that shot.
And for the record, everybody, she makes a really good baked spaghetti. But why didn't you choose your rap video for the video courses?
You know, I just thought it was going to be a little bit over their heads. You know, I have to kind of.
Don't know. Ralph is the rapper on occasion.
Yes, one occasion. That's really been about it. So yeah, here, this is again, this is my local view, or my local site, and I've got 3 videos loaded in here. And one of the things that they wanted to accomplish was to be able to not let people just kind of skip through the videos, but to be able to actually, you know, watch them and track that they're making sure that they're watching, because it was important information that they made sure to have. And so that's basically what this is. So there's 3 videos. So I'm going to switch over to a non-administrator user. make sure I'm still logged in. So for this this user, they've watched 2 of the videos already, and then they have one last video to be able to watch. And so, just marked it complete. But here's the video, and this video and the title and everything is pulled directly from Vimeo, and I'm using the Vimeo API to populate all this. That was one of the requirements that they had, was that they would be using Vimeo videos, and so the API that they provide is really nice, and it makes it easy to develop with, and made it easy for the administrators to be able to add the videos. So basically, they can just go through here, watch the video. You can hit next video because you've already seen these videos, and then whenever you get to this last video, this is the video that has been watched. You can see the complete course is not enabled until we finish the course, and so basically once you get to the end of the course, it will mark it as complete, and it takes you to the completion course, and this would send off an email to the administrator notifying them that the user has completed that course. And I'll switch over to another user real quick, and this is a user that hasn't completed any of the courses, and you can see they don't have access to the next videos. And really, this was probably one of the biggest challenges that I had in the development, was trying to set it up so that certain videos were able to be watched, and in this order, because these videos can be added in any time, in any order, and then reorganized. So it's there's a lot of logic that I wasn't expecting to have to think through on these pieces. So. Then I'll switch over again.
Welcome to module development. Getting requirements and then realizing that you don't actually have the requirements, and then you get the requirements and they're actually not the right requirements, and they get changed.
Yes, yeah, and thankfully they didn't change requirements too much. I was able to get the requirements. It was really more of the requirements of the development that I didn't know how to do. That was probably the biggest part for me. But I've definitely been on enough projects to have come across those floating requirements. So
we told you this. No, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So for this one, as we said, we can view the course progress, and you can see that John Smith has completed the course, and that's the user that we were using just now. Jim Bob's really slacking, and he hasn't got started on his yet. But if we were to go over to his, as you can see, we're on Jim Bob's user, and we'll play this one. And once we get to the end of that video, it will activate the next video button. And if we go back to this page here, refresh it, then we can see that Jim Bob's actually started work on there. And so that's all communicated through using the API in DNN.
So Ralph, are you doing, is all of this through the Vimeo API, or are you using any of the HTML5 APIs for determining video completion?
No, this is all through the Vimeo API. They've got several methods and event handlers that whenever you get to the end of the video, they've got an event there, and so you can just use that to call the web API or the web service to mark it complete, things like that. So that's the video player. And then if we wanted to edit this video or add new videos or change the order, we have a little edit icon. And here you can see we've got the thumbnail, the title, the description is all pulled in through the API. If we wanted to reorder these, we can just drag and drop, and it's reordered. We can return to our list. It saves, as you're moving them around. And then if we go back here, if we wanted to add another one, I'll just grab this link here. Oh, sorry. So basically, to make it as easy as I could, what I did was just grabbing the Vimeo ID is all that you need, and then we'll paste it in here, and it adds it directly there. And like I said, it's all saved on as you make your changes. If you wanted to delete one, you just click the edit button, remove video, and it's gone. So that's basically here what the the edit parts do. And then the other piece was they wanted to be able to add multiple courses. So we wanted to make this where they could grow this to be a training tool. So maybe if somebody in the sound room, if they want to be able to have some videos to teach people how to, do the different parts in the sound room, they could make a series of videos for that. And so I wanted to, thinking again about the user experience and about putting the user first. My thought was to try to do as few steps as possible for the administrator. As I know they have a lot of other things they have to do. They don't really have anybody super technical on staff, and so I try to make it as easy as possible. So I tied this in with the security for DNN, and it's using the DNN security roles to create these courses. So it uses role groups to create the categories. So like the video course A would be a category, and then there could be multiple security roles underneath that, and those would show up as the course. So I'll take us to the security roles to kind of see what that looks like.
Now, this is one of the things I thought was really interesting and creative about what you're doing. And when you first asked me if it was possible, I was like, why would you do it that way? But it was a very interesting use case, and so maybe it'd be best from your own words. Like, why did you approach it that way?
Well, again, I mean, part of it might be because I'm not a developer, so I'm not necessarily, or I'm not haven't been a backend developer in DNN to really understand what all is out there to be able to use, and as far as doing it through the module. But I've been using DNN for many years, and I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the security, administration part of things. And I know that you can create, a lot of roles, and you can group them. And so I was just thinking it would be nice if you could, somehow do this so it dynamically creates your categories. And I guess the other piece was how to limit people to only be able to see a specific course, and make the assigning a security role for that easily. And so started thinking it through the multiple steps of how you could set that up, and then thought if there's a way to be able to create a role and have that role be your list of courses, then that would be the fewest steps for the users to have to do. So it really came back to that, was just what's the fewest steps for the user, or for the administrator in this case.
When you were first explaining that to me, I was like, why are you doing that? This is how we always do stuff. And then when you explained what you were doing there and why you're doing it, where in a typical use case, you'd go create your security role, and then you go create your group, and it probably matches a security role, but you just duplicated work, and the average person doesn't know why they just had to do that. And the average developer, they just did it because that's the way it's always been done. So like when you explained that to me, I thought that was really very, very creative, and I thought it was a really cool idea.
Yeah, and I think that comes from just over the years of having to figure out ways to work around DNN. I've had to explore a lot of DNN because I didn't necessarily know I couldn't just go create a module for something, and so had to learn how to bend DNN as much as I could, and kind of again doing the same thing here. What's that?
The thing that I think is always interesting about DNN development, and one thing I always try to tell people, is that there's a lot of tools in DNN, and I think the really great developers for DNN are the guys who figure out how to take those different tools and use them to accomplish different tasks. Not every tool should be used for every task, but I think if you really want to get the most out of DNN or any platform, you learn how to leverage the tools that are there, because oftentimes you don't have to build something new. You just have to understand the tools that you have, and you can often use those to do some really new and innovative things, like you've done here. So.
Yeah, and that's something I used to try to do, back when I was actively skinning. I haven't been skinning a whole lot in the past couple of years because, like I said, I've been doing UX design and things like that. But I know when I was, actively skinning, I was actively blogging because I was trying to find out new ways to use an existing module. Um, you know, I always liked using the announcements module. It was templatable, and you could just throw in a little bit of JavaScript, and then you had yourself a slideshow, and it was easy for the administrators to add new things to it. So that was something I always tried to do, is to leverage something that's already built into DNN. There's a lot of stuff already built in there, and why not leverage it?
Yeah.
So what I did here was, and I, called up Will and said, all right, talk me through this. What you understand, some of the back end of how DNN works. How can I make this happen? And so kind of what we came up with was this, like I said, I wanted to have categories, and so the categories are the role groups. And so if you wanted to create a new category, you would go in here and you create a new role group, and I didn't want every single role group to show up in this module. Only the ones that I wanted to. So I just came up with a string that would be able to make it unique. And as I'm working through my module and trying to add enhancements, this is something I want to add into the module setting, is to be able to add your own string in here. But for this one, it's hard-coded in to use the CCV, which is Calvary Church Video. And so if I just prepinned whatever the title is, it's going to look for this. And so it has the CCV underscore, and then I'll put DNN Hangouts, if I can spell it. And that's my role group. Then now if I want to add a new course, I'll add a new role. And so this would be course 1, whoops. And I'll put that into the Hangouts role group and update it. And then now if we go back to our video course, you can now see that we have DNN Hangouts and Hangouts Course 1 listed in there. We can go in, we can add a video, and I'll just grab this ID right here, add that one in, grab another ID, add that one in, and again, it's going and getting it all from Vimeo. And then now you can see we've got our videos added on here. And the other piece that I was trying to use for DNN, again, will help me out, thinking through this piece, was how to save this, save the progress for the user. And so I came up with this approach to create a custom profile under the user account. And so if we go into look at the users, so if we go here, and then I can look at this user.
By the way, Ralph, you should start taking credit for this stuff and like pretend like I didn't help.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing it.
This is about you.
So created this custom profile piece here, and so now it just logs whatever videos are complete. And so it's just a simple string, simple string here. And so in my code, which I'll show you in just a minute, which I don't think we'll have a lot of time to go through the code, but just give a brief overview. It looks for, it builds an array through this string of the videos completed, and then that's how it marks which ones are complete.
Yeah, for some reason, Ralph, it looks like we've lost your video, or at least I have on my side. It's just showing.
I think it might be you, Joe, because I thought I was seeing it.
Okay.
Are you able to see the list of videos now,
Yes.
Will? Okay.
Yeah, I see them now.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean that's basically the interaction, and what we was trying to get out of the course. or out of out of the module. So we'll switch over to the fun part with the code. And so again, coming to this as a front-end developer, the way I started it was I just basically built built some JSON static stuff that I was able to kind of play around with and have some data with, and then started working through and building the Angular out for it. And once I got to the point that I wanted to actually start playing with real data, then started looking into the web services. And this is really where I have to give a shout out to Mr. Clint Patterson for his module development blog series. And I don't know how many times I went back and looked to see how many how many times I went to see how to do a web service and things like that. But that was really, I guess, the missing piece for me was I understood a little bit about SQL and how the databases were, but being able to get the link between the front end and the database was the challenge. And so once I saw Clint had done this series that tied that missing piece together, and that was a huge leap for me. And so basically just went through and
That's enough about Clint, by the way, because you're making his ego a little too high.
Yeah, I'm stopping. There's no more about him. That's it. So, but anyway, so I just went through and all of this. I just created a database and using the module template, the old module templates, that Chris Hammond had made. The way he's got it set up with it, where it builds the database and everything like that, I was able to. It was nice to not have to try to figure all that out. It was already set, the framework was already there. So was able to basically in my database I have I'm getting the videos. So for each video is a new entry into the table, and so basically all I'm doing here is I'm just going and getting all of the videos that are tied to this module ID. So this module can be added to other places, and keep the videos separate that way. So I'm going out and I'm getting the videos, and that's just an overall video list. And I'm also going and getting the videos per user, using the user's ID, and coming back with a string of which ones that they've completed. And let's see, I'm also have to get the role groups, the groups by user, and here's the completed status. This is the one for the where I'm getting the videos complete, that custom profile property, and being able to return that back to my my Angular. So basically I just went through and created a bunch of different web services, and they were more challenging than I expected and easier than I expected. Some of them were really easy and basic, and others were really a challenge. And I know I even made Will have to crawl into the source code for some of this to try to figure out how to get it done. But I have to say that a lot of these were easier than I expected to do. There was just those few that really kind of really put the challenge on us. So, so they were, built out all the web services, and then for moving on now to the whole front end part of things, I have the Angular, and broke this up into where I have factories where I'm going and getting all of the hitting the web services and returning the data back to the views. And so just for each, like here I'm trying to get the status of all of the users. This returns that list of the users' progress. Here I'm getting a list of the users, just getting that from the web services. And then I have videos, categories, and the Vimeo. And this Vimeo is the API that doesn't connect to DNN, but it connects to Vimeo's API. And this is where you get a lot of the, you get all of the information back from the videos. So yeah, and it'd be really hard to try to walk through all of the stuff that Angular does for this, but separating this out into factories was really definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do a session on Angular, but well, not today anyway. Maybe that's something we can do in the future.
Yeah.
But it is really nice to have an open source example out there that uses Angular to help other people get started, because that's something that our community has been a little lacking in. So that was one of my main motivations for helping you. Besides, you're a good guy. You deserve some help. But just being able to have finally some open source examples of Angular out there to point people to was really exciting.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I haven't blogged in probably a couple of years, so it's nice to be able to get something back out there in the community that, like you said, other people can use. So. And here, so then I have the video controllers, and this is some new stuff for me, trying to understand a little bit more about how controllers work and views work and those types of things. But the going through a JavaScript framework is definitely the where a lot of things are going, and it's a lot easier for a front end guy to figure out, but still powerful enough to be able to to just develop full applications on. So basically, like here for the video, this is the video list. So, for example, yeah, this list right here, that's the controller for it, and I'm just getting the users, getting the data for them for which videos are complete. That way, I can mark them complete. Getting the list of videos and the categories and all those pieces too. So once I get all of the data, then I go through and I build the list, and using lots of loop statements and things like that, and went through, let's see, let me minimize this. So yeah, I have minimize too much, I believe.
So I don't think we need to go through every single method, but you can tell you're using a lot of Angular here. What else did you use to build this?
Really, I mean, it was very heavy Angular, and that's I'm trying to remember if I used anything else besides Angular for this. I did build this on Bootstrap. I kind of just remembered that one, and I've seen some tools out there that you can use the Bootstrap components with Angular, and that might be a future project that I work on, is trying to blend them together, because there are some components in Bootstrap that I'd like to be able to use that I couldn't really, they didn't work really well with how Angular is set up. So that might be something I'd like to try to implement into this project at a later time.
Now, Ralph, I understand, this was built on prior to DNN 8, right? So you didn't have the new SPA module type. So how did you actually bootstrap up the whole SPA framework that you're using, Angular and Bootstrap?
Yep. So this is my view.astx file, and really what I did is just created a bunch of JavaScript variables and got the module ID, the portal ID, the user ID, and those different types of things. Just kind of went through and tried to set those initial values from the controls there. And also I have in here, let's see. So here I'm using the Client Resource Manager to bring in all of the CSS and the Angular and Java and Bootstrap. And that's really about it. I mean, I have a couple other little things for getting the admin, some of the admin list, the edit, and things like. Well, no, that's actually the that's just some legacy stuff that's in there. But really, I guess the main part was trying to get the module ID, the portal ID, the roles, and things like that. And to convert this over to the DNN8, I'm still, kind of got to figure out how I can get roles through the HTML and not have to, So I feel like some of the pieces might be easier than others, but there's still some pieces that I'm kind of still got to work through to get it up to the DNN8 approach.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good segue into like one of the primary questions I wanted to make sure we asked you today, which is, having basically you came to this particular, basically a monster module project with a fresh mind and not really having any developer experience. Well, not the traditional module developer experience anyway. Like what are your main takeaways from this? Like, what are the main things that were just like awesome, and some of the main things that were like a huge challenge?
Yeah, some of the things like, because I've been skinning for a while, and so a lot of this looked familiar, and I'd go to the user groups and listen, even if I didn't understand them, I'd still try to pick up something, and that's just something I've tried to do over the years, is at least pick up little bits and pieces so that one day, they would hopefully all kind of magically fall into place, and they did not. I was disappointed, but they definitely made it a lot easier as I went in to start building this, just having that, the familiarity, I guess, with it. Even if I didn't always understand it, I at least had some familiarity with it. And it was nice to be able to tie into the security roles for DNN and be able to use those dynamically in my module. But really, I think the hard part was, I guess, coming in to this before DNN8 and not having any module or any templates to be able to build this with, and trying to figure out how to do it from trying to build a SPA module and still have to depend on on C#. The web services, I could understand, but some of these other pieces were really challenging to try to figure out how to get the security levels which user security role are they in, to be able to know if they can edit the page and different things like that. That's really where I think the challenge was, and I haven't really got a chance to dig into the new templates yet to see how much is in there. But it's that's, I guess, kind of that was the hard part for me, was really trying to figure out how to leverage that into the SPA side of things.
Well, what user templates are you talking about? What templates are you referring to?
Well, there are some DNN SPA templates out there, but I'm not sure. I think they're in source code, but I don't know if they're. Like I said, I kind of briefly looked at them the other day on GitHub. I believe they were under Joe's account.
Yeah, so there's templates in my account, but I think Chris Hammond has published the SPA template in his templates now, so I submitted those a while back.
Okay.
And I think there's a third method that some guys are working on to actually use NuGet to do templating. So you could just install a NuGet package and it would drop a couple files in your project for you and basically give you everything you need. So definitely a couple of different approaches there.
I'll be sure to put that in the show notes, because there's a really good blog article about it that myself and David Poindexter especially, and some other people, we've been participating in with that particular guy, and I forget his name right now, but we'll put it in the show notes. Which reminds me, I completely skipped the news section, but that's fine. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff that happened over the last month and a half, 2 months, that we'll have notes on for everybody. But we do have a question from, speaking of David Poindexter, we have a question from him. So his question is, having utilized AngularJS for the SPA module, do you believe if you were having to do it all over again, would you still use AngularJS? And were there any specific AngularJS challenges that you ran into?
Yeah, I would definitely use Angular again. There's Knockout, but I didn't feel like it was quite enough for this project. For something really lightweight, I like Knockout. Maybe for a quick prototype of how to do something, or some real lightweight thing. But then there's other things out there too, like React and stuff like that. But I like Angular because there's a lot of information out there on how to use it, and a lot of examples. And so yeah, I would still definitely use it because, like I said, it's one of the the most widely used that's out there right now. So and as far as challenges, just trying to figure out where the responsibility was for DNN and where the responsibility was for Angular on handling certain things, I think was a little bit of a challenge for me, since both of them were kind of new. I'd used Angular some, but still not to anything of this size. And so there was areas where I was like, well, is this an Angular thing or is this a DNN thing? And but I definitely learned a lot more about how to use the developer tools and debugging and things like that through this process too.
So I have another question from Pete Good. He wants to know specifically about the module. If when you complete a course, does it go ahead and grant users, assign them to new roles, or so are you using role assignment or is that something that's possible in the module?
No, basically, once they complete the course, it just notifies the administrator that the course is complete. It's not really like a progression of like a 101 to 201 to 301 type of thing. It's really the way that they're using it is just to teach, on a certain topic or a certain thing, certain section or area. So it's not really like where you would progress to another course per se. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was more about could you use someone's progress to basically give them access to different parts of the site? Because
yeah, I would think so. I mean, I would think once you get that the API, it notifies you that the course is complete, and then you would just be able to put some, another method in there to update to add a new course. I think there would have to be some logic on, how to stack your courses as far as, which one require a little bit of extra development. Maybe, prepending some strings to your course, to your security roles for order. How you would progress through it, but I mean, I think it's definitely something that would be, doable.
Listen to this, and he's not a module developer.
I've developed one module.
That was a pretty.
The module you've developed is quite impressive, even for people who built a lot of modules.
Yes, yeah. So this is for everybody that's watching. This is a version 1, just so you know. In fact, I think it's still beta. I don't even think it is a version 1 yet. Is it, Ralph?
I think it's 1.005.
Okay, so it is 1. Yeah. So like,
it's being used.
Gabe is very much a veteran's answer. So this is very impressive on every level. But we're a little over time right now. But I don't think we can stop talking to you about this until we can get one more perspective from you. So again, having the background you came from, one of the things we didn't go over was source control, and you came from a very TFS intensive background, and for this you ended up using GitHub and Git. So like, can you give us a few minutes on like what your experience was with that?
It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. It's I've been using TFS for, like you said, for a good 4 years now, and had gotten used to the way things had worked, and but then making the switch over to Git was it was a little different. I'm still trying to figure it out because I think I'm still trying to align it to TFS. And once I can realize that they don't really align, they don't necessarily work the same way, I'll probably be able to understand it a lot more. But seeing that a lot more people are using it for a lot of their projects, it's just the way things are going, and being able to have it open so that people can put in notes and requests and things like that. That I do like that part of it.
So there's a couple other comments, and they're like all flooding in at this point, which is crazy. So let me go back to where some of them were. They're coming from multiple directions too. So one of the things is there's yet another set of SPA templates that are out there. I'm not sure if they're formally released yet, but Peter Donker has the SPA Yeoman templates. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The gentleman that did the NuGet packages for module development, his name's Daryl Tunnel, and I got the blog from that. David Poindexter is working with him to discuss the level of effort that people have and adding some complementary packages to it. And some of the other comments I wanted to put out there just so we can make sure. And right now, Joe, you should double-click on Ralph so he's the camera, no matter what, because I want to say something that makes sure that we get his reaction to it. So like, can you double-click on him real quick?
Yeah, he should be locked.
Yeah, that doesn't make me nervous at all, Will.
There we go. So first one is totally impressive, Ralph. You're a true inspiration. So that's from David Poindexter. And David Poindexter, for the people that don't know, he's been around DNN for a long time. He's been developing for a long time. So somebody like him saying that Ralph's impressed him is a pretty good thing. And Johnny Gregory says your module is very smooth. That's a very Miami thing to say, I think. But yeah, there's a bunch of compliments coming in right now. So no matter what Joe and I could say, and we've already complimented you plenty, like this is a pretty formidable effort that you put forth, and for being a first module, being a first release, like this is amazing. And I just wanted to congratulate you on not just that accomplishment, but also thanking you for throwing that back into the community.
Yeah, appreciate that. And again, thank you, for the help that was provided along the way too. So it's kind of you see examples out there of other people giving and inspire along down the line, I guess. So.
And that's the thing. I think ultimately when we come back to the strength of DNN and open source in general, it's that attitude of people sharing, right, and not feeling like, oh, this is my code and I'm going to hide it away, or but hey, other people help me and I'm going to put it back out there and help maybe some new DNN developers, right? And it's like we all have something that we know that maybe might help somebody else, and it's great to see people stepping up and going the extra steps to do that for some new developers. So thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, so we should probably start wrapping this up at this point. So Ralph, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and they want to learn more about this, or maybe they need some skinning work for their company or something like that, or maybe module development work for their company, now that they can see that your module looks better than a lot of modules out there, how would they get a hold of Ralph Williams?
Well, you can get me at Ralph Williams on Twitter. That's probably really the best and easiest place to get me. I also have a website. It's ralphwilliams.com. I haven't posted in there in a while, but there's still a lot of articles on DNN and how to, from a Skinner'S perspective, on how to skin, how to bend modules to your will, and types of things like that on there. So, and if once I get free time, since I know we all have plenty of that, I'd like to try to start blogging through some of the process that I went through. But trying to figure out where to start, I think, is the challenge.
Well, I mean, I guess you can ask Clint. He's pretty good at breaking it down into little steps.
Yeah.
I might give you like 25 of them, so you might want to consider whether or not you ask him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, most of mine have been up to 3. 3 steps on how to do something, but I don't know if I'm ready for 20 yet.
All right, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and start to close this show out. And then thank you again, Ralph, for being our guest and for everything you've done. So at this point, events. So I did skip over the news, and I apologize for that, but we do have DNN Con Baltimore coming up April 1st and 2nd. We got the DNS for that all fixed up within the last day or so. We're going to start to post updates on the website here shortly, now that we have that control again. DNN Connect 2016 is coming up this year too, and I apologize I don't have the dates on here, but I know Peter's watching, so I'm sure he'll pop in a date here in my IM here in a second. And there is a potential for another DNN Con towards the end of 2016 as well. And again, I'll be putting some of these things on here as far as some extensions that released over the last month and some blogs. We got a DNN 8 CTP 7 that just came out, for example, so you'll find that in the show notes. So the next DNN Hangouts, we got the one about DNN 8 coming in. Oh, there's Peter right there. So June 2nd and 5th. And where is that, Peter? Joe, do you remember where that is?
Yeah, that's in Girona, Spain.
Spain.
Actually, up where Vicens Massanas lives.
Yeah, so Spain doesn't sound like a bad place to visit at all.
No, not at all.
No. All right, so so our next DNN Hangout is going to be in January, and date to be revealed, to be determined, and we're going to be going over the DNN 8 release, so going over it in great detail. And then February, we're going to be talking about DNN community. And so after that, if you have any topics you'd like to speak about, or you want to nominate somebody for me to go and talk to that you know that they're doing something cool, I can go do that on your behalf. Just let me know, and we'd love to have you or your friends to come speak at the next DNN Hangouts or upcoming DNN Hangouts. With that, thank you, gentlemen, for joining. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Will, and thanks, Ralph. It was great talking with you this month, and we definitely look forward to seeing everyone after the holidays.
Thanks for having me.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.